Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Right, I'm not sure how many of you realise just how much Roman Abramovich saved Chelsea in 2003. The very existence of Stamford Bridge weighed on whether or not he chose to put money into them or Spurs. The club had debts of £96 million were about to head the same way as Leeds, a club hurtling headfirst towards relegation and forced to sell the goddamn change room toilet rolls for a bit of extra cash to stay alive. Honestly lads, Chelsea could have been the next Bury FC. So let's see, what if Abramovich had chosen to neglect nursing them back to health with bags and bags of oil cash? What if he left them to splutter and die on the sidewalk and instead chosen Spurs? What would have happened next? Right, well you know Roman Abramovich just about gave Claudio Ranieri a stay of execution. 1 year in the Chelsea dugout to impress him. Well, Ranieri was a well-liked and respected coach. That's the only reason he got an extra 9 months. What do you think the Russian billionaire would have made of Glenn Hoddle? A disgraced England coach who just finished halfway down the bastard league. Not only would he be sacked on the spot, the ruthless Abramovich would have probably demanded his office be burned to the ground. So who would he have appointed? Well, names like Otmar Hitzfeld, Marcello Lippi and Fabio Cabello would have all been tossed around. Where's Jose Mourinho, you say? Well, this was the summer of 2003. He left at the UEFA Cup, sure, but that Champions League win with Porto hadn't happened yet. So Abramovich probably wouldn't have a clue who the hell he was. Considering their friendship, I'd say Abramovich would have moved heaven and earth to get Sven-Göran Eriksson out of that England job. Good news for England fans. All Sven was good for was losing on penalties, picking teenagers and sniffing the receptionist's seat. And the last part may not be true. So in he comes to White Hart Lane. Sven has already said he'd need to change the entire Spurs team to win the league. So let's take a look at the squad reconstruction. In comes Pavel Nedved from Juventus for 30 million quid, a player Sven worked with at Lazio. They'd no doubt have to make this fella the best paid player in world football, giving him an eye-watering £120,000 a week. Who else would Sven want? Considering their time together with England, he'd probably have plucked Joe Cole out of a relegated West Ham, Owen Hargreaves out of Bayern Munich's midfield, and considering Chelsea only failed to sign Kieran Dyer due to Ranieri's reluctance, I'd say this lad would have ended up at White Hart Lane too. In real life, Juan Sebastian Veron was happy to follow the cash to Stamford Bridge, so chuck in a previous relationship with Eriksson. Having worked with him at Lazio, you're damn right the argue would have wound up at Spurs instead, as would up-and-coming English talents Glenn Johnson, Wayne Bridge and Scott Parker. Not Michael Carrick though. Not fashionable or hyped enough in 2004, he'd have instead swapped West Ham for his hometown club. And now for the owner's input. Andrei Shevchenko, a close friend of Abramovich. Yeah, the guy had just scored a Champions League winning penalty to win AC Milan the Champions League at Old Trafford, but the fella had scored just 5 bastard goals in the league. I'm pretty sure a £20 million bid would have been accepted at the San Siro, forming a strike partnership with Hernan Crespo at White Hart Lane, also dragged in from a Milan club. Like John Terry at Chelsea, Ledley King would have been one of the sole survivors after this financial takeover. Roman would have probably used Stephen Carr's career to wash his Bentley, used Freddie Canute as his own human footstool, and probably fed Dean Marney to a farm of hungry pigs. Considering Robbie Keane spent his life linked with Everton, he'd have probably been chucked out to eventually replace Wayne Rooney at Goodison Park in the summer of 2003, while Defoe would have wound up at a club chasing Europe like Aston Villa. But King would have stuck around, with the captain's armband clinging to his bicep, forming a defensive partnership with the incoming big money signing Jonathan Woodgate from Newcastle. A defensive partnership that yielded just one League Cup trophy in real life. A cup that looks as though it was made in a Toy Master warehouse. Right, so what other clubs would have been affected? Well, Damien Duff would have been free to swap Ewood Park for Anfield, cementing his reputation as the most popular Irishman on the face of the planet. And so the unwanted Harry Kewell would have been free to swap Leeds for Man United after all, right? Not wrong, because they'd already signed their first choice transfer target on the wing. Because lads, without Chelsea, Arsenal would have been free to sign Petr Cech 12 years before they actually did. You know, pre-skull helmet, pre-Stephen Hunt almost smashing his skull like an Easter egg. You know, when he was actually a world-class goalie. And PSV wonderkid Arjen Robben would have instead wound up as Ryan Giggs' successor at Old Trafford. On the left wing, that is, not hiding under his brother's bed. So I'm guessing Kewell, boxed out of Anfield by Duff, boxed out of Old Trafford by Robin, and boxed out of the Nou Camp by Ronaldinho would have just become an injury-prone stain on Arsene Wenger's bench, meaning Jose Antonio Reyes would have never come to England, God rest his soul. Like Leeds, there'd have been a fire sale at Stamford Bridge, like rats eager to jump off a sinking ship headed for League One. Considering Sir Alex Ferguson is a long-time admirer of John Terry, having tried to sign him on about 5 different occasions, you're damn right he would have wound up at his boyhood Old Trafford. I mean, he did support them as a child. Nice timing considering Rio Ferdinand's drugs ban, so sit back down on that bench, Wesley Brown. I'm guessing Londoner homeboy Frank Lampard, a man who refused to move out of the capital until he was 36 years of age, would have just gone straight into Arsenal's midfield, and it would be him, not Gilberto Silva, partnering Patrick Vieira during that invincible season. I'd imagine he would have stayed with the Gunners for about 5 seasons before doing what every other half-decent Arsenal player did when he got bored of the club's decline and just quit the club, ending up at Inter Milan in 2008. This would have probably delayed Cesc Fabregas' progress at Highbury, and he himself would have wound up back at Barcelona after the 2006 World Cup. So the 03-04 season, Arsenal go unbeaten to win the league with ease, with Newcastle replacing Chelsea in the goddamn top 4. Spurs under Under Sven, with a new look squad, would rocket up the league into 5th, but still left with just UEFA Cup football, and hopefully having fired that chef who serves dodgy lasagna. As for the England job, having been abandoned by their manager one summer before the tournament, emergency stand-in Steve McLaren would have steered England to bottom of the Euro 2004 group. After all, we know this guy doesn't have a clue how to beat Croatia. Timing is everything, with the summer 2004 being the merry-go-round of available managers. Let's see what would have happened. Sven, just one season into his reign at White Hart Lane, Roman probably wouldn't have gone for the Champions League winning Jose Mourinho, so the Portuguese would have been free to replace Gerard Houllier at Liverpool instead. You know that special bond between Jose and Lampard in real life? Yeah, in this alternate Spurs-rich scenario, Mourinho would have been telling Steven Gerrard whilst naked in the shower that he was the best player on planet Earth. As for Rafa Benitez, fresh from a UEFA Cup title with Valencia, it would be him, not Graham goddamn Souness, stepping in to replace Sir Bobby Robson at St James's Park. That would have been an actual dignified replacement for Bobby, not the lad stuck at the bottom of the league with Blackburn. So what would have happened over the next few years? Right, Jose might well have brought Champions League success at Anfield in 2005, becoming the first manager since Brian Clough to win the trophy back-to-back. I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it's him. Under Jose, Gerrard, not Lampard, would have been on that Ballon d'Or podium, striking up a midfield partnership with the manager's African love child Michael Essien, not Xabi Alonso, who would be partnering Michael Carrick in the heart of Newcastle's midfield. Didier Drogba would have been dragged in from Marseille all the way back in 2004, and so now, that fella would be an Anfield hero, given Robbie Fowler type worship status after leading that club to European glory and about 4 FA Cup wins, with Ricardo Carvalho partnering Jamie Carragher at the heart of the defence. Not bad. So what of Newcastle under Benitez? Let's not forget they had a good team before Graham Souness ripped it apart with an axe. Give Rafa, Craig Bellamy, James Milner, Jermaine Genius and Michael Carrick. Let him bring in his own players like Alonso, Dirk Kuyt and club record signing Fernando Torres. This is a manager who probably fantasises about defensive set plays at night, so there'd be no room for Titus Bramble at the Tyneside Inn, no doubt told to go and work in a factory. No more defensive nonsense at St James's Park. In comes two of Rafa's favourites, Gary Cahill from Bolton and an unknown Daniel Agger from out the back arse at Denmark. As for Michael Owen, unwanted by either manager at Newcastle or at Liverpool, he'd probably been forced to spend his peak years stuffed in mid-table with Robbie Keane at Everton. Yes, Benitez would have won Newcastle an FA Cup at least. So the 04-05 season, that's the year Arsenal's unbeaten status unravelled, and so Man United, with a Terry Rio Ferdinand rock-solid defensive partnership, they would end up winning the league, with Spurs finishing 3rd and just a League Cup win to show for their efforts. This gets Sven the sack. In comes Avram Grant. Oh goody. The following season, in May 2006, Mourinho's spine of Carvalho, Gerrard and Drogba wins Liverpool the Premier League title. With Jens Lehmann not at Arsenal to ruin the European dreams with a minus red card, it will be Petr Cech lifting that European Cup in Paris. And with Chelsea not around to deprive Arsenal of Shaun Phillips, this lad will be a European champion. Lads, how typical is it that in a scenario where Spurs win the lottery, it still ends with Ian Wright's spunk lifting the Champions League before them? Oh yeah, and without the distraction of Chelsea, Ashley Cole will be a one-club man Arsenal legend. A Champions League winning left-back with over 700 games for the club. So Arsenal fans, I hope you feel bad for abusing this man. Who are we kidding, lads? He'd probably have signed for Man City in 2009. This is the guy who cheated on Cheryl Cole. I think it's safe to say loyalty is not a strong suit, and if Arsene Wenger could use an unbeaten season to keep his job for 15 more years, a Champions League crown would have bought him a job for life. So today, in 2020, with Arsene Wenger stuffed in the dugout, the likes of Mr. GT would probably be stuck in a padded cell, bleeding from the ears, with most of the Arsenal fanbase screaming for the appointment of former hero Frank Lampard, who's no doubt still trying to win promotion with Derby County. By now, in 2006, Spurs money would have wedged Newcastle out of the top 4, who were forced to sell Fernando Torres to Real Madrid, and so the Newcastle board, desperate for someone to blame, stupidly sacked Benitez and replaced him with Bolton boss Sam goddamn Allardyce, setting in motion the chain of events which led to Mike Ashley and 2 relegations. With Spurs setting their sights on bigger targets, they might have overlooked Luka Modric, leaving Newcastle to sign him in the summer 2008, but let's be honest, he'd have been sold for twice the fee within 6 goddamn months, and so the relegations would be tough. And to make it even worse, an already unfairly sacked Rafa would not have been returning to save the day in 2016. Instead, lads, say hello to Steve McLaren's replacement, David Moyes. Christ, the club would probably go up in flames. For a club like Spurs, any speck of dust in the championship would have been immediately overlooked, and so the likes of Gareth Bale at Southampton would have wound up at Man United instead. And I'm pretty sure the greatest manager on planet Earth wouldn't have made him a reserve left back stuffed in the cupboard under the stairs. The lad would have flourished, the ready-made replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo already on their books. Not nanny. And I know Fergie sold 2 star-studded number 7s to Real Madrid, but he'd probably have rather bit off his left ear than continue that pattern with the sale of Bale to the Bernabeu, so I'm guessing he'd have stayed at Old Trafford for life, instead of having his car pelted with bricks by spoiled Madridistas. Clearly not satisfied with 4 European Cups, the Welshman would instead be on his way to club legend status in Manchester, squeaking into the top 10 for most appearances for the club. A Man United team with Arjen Robben, Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, Michael Ballack and Dimitar Berbatov, topped off with Carlos Tevez, Gareth Bale, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand. Christ lads, they'd have have dominated the mid-2000s. Without the genius of Mourinho, Roman Abramovich would probably have had to wait until 2010 to get his hands on Spurs' first league title, probably under Carlo Ancelotti after sacking Luis Felipe Scolari. As for Jose, he'd have left Liverpool for Inter Milan in 2008, probably to be replaced by Martin O'Neill, and thus bring on the mid-table reign of mediocrity, bringing in the likes of Gareth Barry, both Luke and Ashley Young, and the return of Anfield cult hero but big bag of flour Emil Heskey. As for Man City, their takeover would have changed the game as it did in real life, proving a real thorn in Abramovich's reign of terror. All their big money signings would have happened as they did, although I can see City adding Czech to their list of Arsenal recruits, paving the way for Shay Given to swap St James's Park for Highbury. Maybe then he'd have won a few more FA Cups. As for Lampard, the man was never going to spend more than 3 years in Italy and would have returned to England by replacing Paul Scholes at Old Trafford. So thankfully for the sandy of every man, woman and child in the red half of Manchester, there'd have been no need for the existence of Tom Goddamn Cleverly. I'm guessing the presence of a peak Lampard next to a budding young Paul Pogba would have delayed Man City's first league title in 2012, allowing Fergie to bow out of Old Trafford with 3 titles in a goddamn row. Fast forward to 2020. I'm guessing an unstable Spurs would have been the ones developing that revolving door of managers. It would have been them consistently overlooking their talented youth squads, and so yeah, Harry Kane would have been sold to Crystal Palace in 2012 before winding up as Luis Suarez was replaced at Anfield, not Christian Benteke. In 2020, I think Abramovich's time at Spurs, it would have been more ambitious and still more hard work, taking over a club lying halfway down the league, instead of pumping money into an already established Champions League team like Chelsea, a club already used to lifting trophies. It would have been less successful. I'm guessing Ancelotti would have steered Spurs to title success in 2010. Yes, despite Ledley King being 28 and having cartilage made of melted cheese, he'd still have been finishing his career a Premier League winning captain. That's quite nice. And considering Abramovich's Stan-esque obsession with Pep Guardiola, I have to imagine a success-starved owner with just 1 title in 10 bastard years, I have to imagine he'd have dragged him to Spurs before Bayern Munich got their hands on him in 2013. Without value for money, this Russian billionaire would have made him the highest paid manager on the planet. And then some. Anything, just to bring Tottenham a few goddamn trophies. Since 2003, Spurs have won a singular League Cup. Under Abramovich, it wouldn't quite be Chelsea's success, but still, 3 league titles, 2 FA Cups and a League Cup. Christ, you'd rip my goddamn arm off for that. As for John Terry, playing under the greatest manager who ever lived, lads, the man would have finished his playing days a 6-time Premier League winning captain at Old Trafford in 2005, 2007, 2011, 2012 and 2013. There'd almost be statues beside the ground. He'd have developed the best defensive partnership in world football alongside Rio Ferdinand. That yin and yang blend would rival the likes of Franco Baresi and Paolo Maldini in history books, and considering he'd never have been contesting a hotly rated London derby against QPR in late 2011, Christ above lads, not only would he not have that feud at Rio, he'd probably be invited to the birthday parties of Anton Ferdinand. Christ above, what kind of sick reality is this?